When I bought my oceanfront home, the biggest appeal was the freedom: no HOA, no committees, no board members lurking around with clipboards, just salty air, crashing waves, and space to build the rooftop office I had always dreamed of. As a freelance architect, I loved the idea of working above the world, with a panoramic view stretching endlessly across the Pacific. The construction was simple: a sleek glass room, anchored to the flat portion of my roof, with soundproof panels and a wraparound railing. It wasn't huge. It wasn't flashy, just practical, modern, and well within every building code. I had city permits, structural approvals, and inspection green lights. Everything was legal. But my closest neighbors lived in an HOA. Community next door, the Seabreeze Cliffs Residential Association. Their houses sat on a terraced hill behind mine, arranged like a stairway overlooking the coast. My home, lower but closer to the water, wasn't under their authority, and everyone knew it. But apparently, they didn't like being reminded. The drama began on a Wednesday morning when I walked out to find a bright yellow envelope taped to my door. On the front, notice of violation, Seabreeze Cliffs HOA. Violation? For a non-HOA resident? I opened it. My eyebrows nearly flew off my forehead. Your recently constructed rooftop structure obstructs the designated ocean view of our residents and violates Seabreeze Cliffs HOA environmental harmony standards. You are ordered to dismantle it within 14 days. I laughed out loud. Environmental harmony? The structure was on my home. And, again, I didn't live in their HOA. I emailed their board immediately. Within 2 hours, I got a response from the HOA president, Brenda Marlowe, a woman with the energy of a tornado trapped inside a coffee cup. Her email was short, sharp, and dripping with entitlement. Your property, while technically not under our jurisdiction, directly affects our community. We therefore reserve the right to enforce our standards where necessary. Reserve the right? Based on what? A self-written fantasy rulebook? I ignored the warning, assuming the absurdity would die down on its own. If only. 2 days later, I woke up to shouting. Brenda stood at the edge of my driveway with 2 other HOA board members, pointing dramatically at my roof while lecturing a city code inspector she had dragged over. I walked out with my coffee, prepared to shut this circus down. Instead, the inspector looked at me sympathetically and said, "I'm sorry about this." They filed a formal complaint. The HOA filed a complaint against a house they didn't even govern. And that was the moment I realized this was no misunderstanding. It was a battle brewing, a battle they had absolutely no authority to fight, but were determined to start. The Monday after the inspector's visit, I walked outside to find something unbelievable on my porch: a thick packet, bound like a college thesis, stamped with the words, Seabreeze Cliffs HOA Legal Action Notice. My jaw dropped. They actually did it. They were suing me. I flipped through the pages, each one more ridiculous than the last. Their complaint accused me of view obstruction, community aesthetic disruption, negligent architectural inconsistency, and my personal favorite, intentional disregard for neighborhood harmony. Neighborhood harmony? I didn't even live in their neighborhood. The last page listed their demands: complete demolition of my rooftop office and payment of $25,000 in community damages. I marched straight to the city planning office, packet in hand. The receptionist saw the HOA logo and groaned. "Oh no," she muttered. "Them again." Within a few minutes, I was speaking to a senior city planner, Mr. Grant. He skimmed my lawsuit papers, shaking his head the whole time. "They have zero authority over your property," he said. "None. They can't enforce their bylaws outside their borders. And we already approved your structure. Then how can they sue me?" I asked. He sighed. "Civil court lets people file almost anything if they pay the fee. It doesn't mean they'll win." Comforting, but not comforting enough. Later that afternoon, I spotted HOA president Brenda and her board members gathered on the hill behind my house, binoculars in hand. They were staring at my rooftop office like it was a nuclear missile silo. I walked outside just in time to hear Brenda yelling to her group, "He thinks he can just do whatever he wants because he bought outside the HOA. But his building affects our view values. We can't allow that." Another board member chimed in. "This is about setting a precedent." A precedent? For controlling non-HOA homes? I stepped closer and called out, "Maybe you should worry about the houses you actually manage." Brenda whipped around. Your structure offends our entire community. You've damaged property values. How? I asked. Your homes are uphill. You still have the same ocean view. She jabbed a finger toward my roof. Not the same. Now when people look out, they see your futuristic glass box. That futuristic glass box, I replied, has permits. From the city. Something you don't have, authority over my house. Her face flushed like boiling water. This isn't over, she snapped. And she meant it. By evening, the HOA had sent out a mass email to all Seabreeze Cliffs residents titled, Protecting Our View Rights from Outside Threats. The next morning, 3 neighbors from that community showed up at my gate to speak with me about my building. The war had officially begun. The day after the neighbors confronted me at my gate, I decided I had only 2 options. 1. Sit quietly and hope the HOA stopped. 2. Hit back with every legal tool available. Option 2 felt much more appropriate. I contacted an attorney known around the county for handling aggressive HOA disputes. His name was Evan Whitlock, a calm, sharp-minded lawyer who had defeated enough overreaching associations to fill a trophy case. Evan skimmed the lawsuit and actually laughed. This isn't a case, he said. It's a tantrum written on legal paper. Can they win? I asked. No, he answered. But they can cost you time and stress. And based on this president's tone, she's not going to stop unless she's slapped with a counterclaim. A counterclaim. Now we were talking. Evan drafted a response telling the court that Seabreeze Cliffs HOA had no jurisdiction, no standing, and no factual basis for damages. But that wasn't the fun part. The fun part was the counter-lawsuit he added. Harassment, abuse of legal process, interference with permitted construction, defamation, due to their mass email portraying me as a threat to the community. When Brenda and the HOA board received our response, chaos erupted. I knew because Brenda accidentally sent her furious reply to me instead of her lawyer. Her email was 20 paragraphs of rage. How dare you countersue us? We represent the interests of 98 homeowners. Your roof box damages our daily peace. We will not be bullied by someone who isn't even in our HOA. The irony was delicious. 3 days later, the HOA held an emergency meeting on their clubhouse lawn. I watched from the sidewalk as Brenda stood on a folding chair like a dictator addressing her army. He is trying to sue us, she shouted. One resident asked, but isn't he allowed to have the office since it's his property? Brenda snapped, that is not the point. Another resident raised a hand. But we're spending HOA money on this, right? Our dues. Now Brenda hesitated. Well, yes, but it's for the good of the community. A whispering wave rippled through the 30 homeowners present. One older man spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Good of the community or good of your ego, Brenda? That line hit her like a laser beam. She doubled down instantly. This office must be removed. We need to protect property values. A woman replied, my property value went down because you paved over our garden. For that clubhouse extension, not because of his office. The crowd murmured. For the first time, I saw cracks forming in Brenda's power, and I intended to widen them. The court date arrived on a bright Friday morning, and the Seabreeze Cliffs HOA showed up like they were marching into war. Brenda wore a navy blazer 3 sizes too stiff for her personality, and the board members carried binders overflowing with papers that were, according to Evan, mostly meaningless printouts. The judge, a stern but fair woman named Judge Ramirez, opened the session by reviewing both cases. 1. The HOA's lawsuit demanding I tear down my rooftop office. 2. My counterclaim accusing them of harassment and abuse of process. Before anyone spoke, the judge asked the HOA's attorney the question that would define the entire case. Do you have any legal jurisdiction over the defendant's property? The lawyer hesitated, sweated, adjusted his tie. No, Your Honor. But, no, the judge said, cutting him off. Then your case is fundamentally flawed. Brenda shot up from her chair. Your Honor, his office ruins our ocean view. The judge stared at her. Ma'am, you cannot regulate homes outside your association, but it affects us emotionally. Brenda blurted. The visual imbalance is distressing. Emotional ocean views are not recognized in civil code. The judge replied bluntly. The courtroom stifled laughter. Evan remained calm, sliding forward photos, permits, city approvals, And the email Brenda sent accusing me of endangering community harmony. Judge Ramirez's eyebrows lifted as she read it. Then came the moment that sealed their fate. The judge asked, "Did you send mass emails to your community stating the defendant was a threat to neighborhood stability?" Brenda straightened. Of course, they needed to know the truth. "Ma'am," Judge Ramirez said, "that is defamation, and your lawsuit appears to have been filed solely to pressure the defendant into removing a perfectly legal structure." The HOA's attorney lowered his head. He knew what was coming. Judge Ramirez continued, "I am dismissing the HOA's complaint with prejudice." Brenda gasped. One board member nearly dropped his binder. And regarding the counterclaim, the judge said, "There is clear evidence of harassment, defamation, and misuse of HOA resources. Therefore, I am ruling in favor of the defendant." Brenda sputtered, "This is outrageous. We are the HOA." The judge banged her gavel. "And that doesn't make you above the law." After the ruling, the ordered penalties were announced. The HOA had to pay all my legal fees, a $15,000 penalty for harassment, and Brenda was removed as HOA president following a homeowner vote triggered by the court findings. Outside the courthouse, several HOA residents approached me. Honestly, one said, "We're glad she lost. She went too far." Another added, "Your rooftop office is beautiful, by the way." I walked back to my car with the Pacific breeze hitting my face. I had won, not just against the HOA, but against pure, unfiltered entitlement. The ocean view was perfect for everyone except Brenda.